A very good day to you. I'm Oisin Langan. This is the extratime.com Friday podcast. Coming up today, former Bohemians and Shelbourne player Owen Heary on the cup final. He is an unashamed Bohs fan, and why wouldn't he be? He grew up supporting them and won a cup with them. He'll talk to us about his two cup finals and what he thinks will happen this Sunday in the Extra.ie FAI Cup final between St. Pat's and Bohemians. It should be a belter. We'll also look ahead to tonight's relegation promotion playoff final with Macdara Ferris of extratime.com. Waterford taking on UCD. It has been a truly bizarre week for the Blues. Macdara will also speak to us about the Republic of Ireland, who drew 1-1 with Slovakia last night in the World Cup qualifiers. He was in Tala for that game. In fact, before we hear from Macdara, let's hear from goal scorer Katie McCabe.
Obviously we want to go in and compete and win the games, of course, especially when we're playing at home in Tala. It's our fortress. We want to make it a difficult place to come, but I think we showed that, especially in the second half. After we conceded the early goal, after half time, we came out fighting, got the equaliser, and I felt we could get pushing for the second. Nearly came, but credit to Louise as well for actually keeping us in it with her unbelievable block at the back. So yeah, all in all, disappointed with the results, but we need to move on. Slovakia, they're a well-drilled team. They've got some real quality in there, and they came at us, and yeah, ultimately they went 1-0 up. But yeah, as I said, we fought back well, and yeah, I think we need to just start games tonight a little bit quicker.
Not just about the goal that you did get. Mr. Sullivan, she was fouled in the run-up to it as well. She let the ball off you, but you took the goal very well. Yeah, when Denise picks it up, it's my job to make forward runs down that left-hand side, because I know she can find me, and she said she shoved off the player, played me in, and obviously I was delighted to see it hit the back of the net. Yeah, from then on I thought we could keep pushing, which we did. We showed great character, but yeah, we need to just tidy up and take those positives into Tuesday. Really physical game as well, and lots of crouching challenges. Maybe the referee let quite a few go against like really freezing opportunities to get balls into the box that was in there in the run.
Yeah, played Slovakia now a few times over the years since I've come into the team, so we know what they're about. Quite similar to us, where they're quite dogged, tackling, they come in numbers as well. So yeah, as I said, they came at us, but I think we dealt with them well in the end.
So that was Katie McCabe, who scored an absolute wonder goal in a 1-1 draw against Slovakia. Macdara Ferris of extratime.com was there. Macdara, good result or bad results? 2 points dropped or 1 point gained?
That was actually a question that was put to Katie McCabe afterwards when she spoke with the media pitch side, and she said it was a point gained rather than 2 dropped, but she did talk about her disappointment in not getting a win. I think it probably comes down to the fact that Slovakia had this great chance late on in the game when Courtney Brosnan just took a heavy touch and Slovakia got in, and Brosnan kind of redeemed herself, made a save, and the ball came loose and looked like it was basically an open goal for the Slovakian forward to knock it in, and somehow Louise Quinn got back and kind of a trailing heel knocked the ball behind. So it could have been a defeat, but I think overall my own view is I think it was probably 2 points dropped.
Now, I had to go a bit old school with this game last night. I'm one of those people who doesn't have a telly in their house, but what that means is if your internet is in any way funny, you can't watch a live game. And that's what happened to me. So I ended up listening to it. And Emma Byrne on Off the Ball kept making the point in the first half that Ireland were just hoofing it away and they weren't putting moves together. They weren't putting passes together. Was that the case? And if so, how did that happen? Why did that happen? And did it improve in the second half?
It did happen. It was probably just to do with Slovakia they were quite a physical side. They were quite aggressive, and actually that was something that Vera Pauw said afterwards as well, that her team ended up kind of going directly forward, was what she said, and she felt the team needed to be a bit calm. And when they got in at half time, they actually showed them a number of clips, and she was much happier with the second half performance. The problem was they got caught cold straight after half time when attacking. Actually, Katie McCabe was, I wouldn't say caught upfield, but when the move broke down, Slovakia were able to run the ball down the right channel and score within 2 minutes. 2 minutes of after half time, but Ireland were certainly created more chances. Like, did a couple of great efforts that just went wide. So I think they were much better in the second half. Like, it was something that happened there in the end of the last game, the last home game against Sweden, where they ended up, I felt, probably going to really putting high balls into the box when they were chasing the equaliser right at the end, which is always the temptation. I thought they were a bit more patient this time around when they weren't chasing an equaliser, they were chasing a winner, but they kept, I think in the second half they were better, and even towards the end of the game, they didn't resort to just hoofing kind of straight balls into the box. They tried to get down the flanks and get some crosses in and cause some difficulties. But yeah, I think the first half was kind of lackluster, I felt.
Is it the case that we kind of know how to play a team like Sweden or even a team like Finland, both of who would be classed as technically superior to us, but we're still kind of finding our way into playing teams like Slovakia, who we should be beating, and even go back to the last campaign, Ukraine? I mean, that was the result that let us down, and we struggled to kind of play against them. Are we still finding our feet against teams that we should be beating, if that makes sense? Yeah,
it's probably to do with the fact that Pau's plan for preparation for this World Cup qualification was to play, some of the best teams in the world, and it was why we lost 7 games in a row at friendlies in the run up to this qualification, because she wanted her team to play against teams above her. So there were teams that had more of the ball, that were attacking Ireland, whereas last night Slovakia were happy enough to defend deep. They played a very low block. It was a 4-1-4-1. They had a defensive midfielder straight in front of the back four, and then a deep lying midfield as well. So yeah, that's the challenge. They made a decision not to play teams at that level, but played like the Scandinavian teams, so that Finland and Ireland are probably going to be vying for that runners-up spot. I don't think Slovakia will be that good enough. Like, they've got 4 points, so the point from last night and the win over Georgia. I think most teams should be beating Georgia. But that's ideally what you want to do. Is they were focusing on 2 wins from these games. They're playing Georgia on Tuesday night, and having only got a point last night, it's a must-win game, and that's what Pau said. She said, "You have to do better on Tuesday. We will be better on Tuesday," and it's a must-win game.
And the fact that the game is at home is a massive advantage. Do we have to put up a score in that game, or will any kind of win do? From your reading of the group, granted early doors.
Yeah, no, I think a win, because what it is a win would put us into second place. All the teams will have played 4 points. So Sweden won last night, so they're on 12 points from 4 games, 4 from 4. They're going to win the group. They're the Olympic silver medalists. I think 3rd place in the last World Cup, I think, as well. So we saw them in Dublin when Ireland played very well that day and only lost 1-0, but I think they're going to win the group. There's 9 groups, 9 group winners automatically qualify for the World Cup, which is in Australia and New Zealand in 2023. And then there's this super complicated playoff system. So the 9 runners-up will go into a playoff, but the best 3 runners-up will kind of go into this phase 2, whereas the other 6 teams will play off through a different stream. And so there's only 3 places available through the playoff. And to add to the complication, the very best 2 playoff winners through that route will qualify automatically. And then the 3rd one has an intercontinental playoff, which will take place in Australia and New Zealand ahead of the tournament. So yeah, I love complicated systems like that. But, Ireland are going to be vying, I say, with Finland and Slovakia. So get a win on Tuesday. We go second, a point clear of Finland and 3 points clear of Slovakia, with everyone having played the same number of games. And I think I think that'll be good. I think that's realistically is probably as good as we wanted. If you're kind of looking at the fixtures, you'd have said, we won in Helsinki. You probably would have said, okay, if we got a draw there and beat Slovakia, so the kind of results have gone the other way. But it puts us in a very good position to drive on and kick on in the rest of the campaign. There's lots of football still to be played, and we have to play Georgia home and away, who are going to be the whipping girls, if I can say that, of this competition. They've played the 3 games and let in 9 goals so far.
Okay, well, look, it sounds like it's going to be complicated if we get to the playoffs. Let's hope we have that to worry about. Let's hope we have headaches wondering, are we in that 3? Are we in that phase 2?
Yeah.
Are we in that intercontinental playoff, which sounds like a WWE title? Of course it was. A WWF title, as it was known back then, the intercontinental title. Mr. Perfect had that belt for a while, but look, that's a bit of a bit of an alleyway we don't need to go down. Okay, Macdara, just before I let you go, the cup final this weekend, I'm not going to ask you for a prediction, but what kind of game do you think it'll be?
Well, what's great is it's going to be a really, really big crowd. It looks like it's going to break the record for the first Aviva Stadium final in 2010, which was 36,000. So they seem to have sold more tickets than that. I suppose going back to last night in Tala, they'd sold 6,500 tickets and 5,100 came. They were just 100 short of the record for women's international in Tala. So I think that was probably to do with COVID, maybe more to do with that a lot of school kid teams would have been traveling up by bus, and I think maybe made the decision not to do that because of COVID. So I think if they've sold a number of tickets for the cup final, I think it'll be really big. It should be a really big crowd, and hopefully we'll break that record. Like the teams have had some interesting games this season in the league. Like they drew 2-2. There was quite a few red cards. Rob Hennessy was the referee for those games. He sent 2 Pats players off in the last match, which Bowes won 3-2, I think it was, in Dalymount, and he's the referee. The referee on Sunday. But like there's some quality players, plenty of players that are named in the PFAI Team of the Year just this morning. I think there's 4 Bohemians players. You've Chris Forrester. Bit surprising, Yaros wasn't named in that as the goalkeeper because he's been exceptional this season for Pats. So, but yeah, there's been goals in the games between the sides this season. So hopefully that's the case, and they're not overawed by such a big crowd. Obviously, Bowes have played in the Aviva Stadium this season, but in front of, I think, 8,000, which was the capacity for the Europa Conference qualifiers, just kind of due to COVID. So hopefully they can go out and enjoy it. I saw Chris Forrester talk about how when he was playing in his first cup final, he was really, really nervous. He talked about throwing up beforehand. We said that the young players, they don't seem to have any fear. Bowes have plenty of young players as well. So hopefully we get a good game. It's a great showcase for League of Ireland football. You know, it's on live on television on RT. For those that have a television, hopefully your RT player might work with your broadband.
Yeah.
And if people want to get along, tickets are still available, and a nice outdoor event to maybe go to this Sunday just to cap off basically the last game of the season. Obviously the women play in Tala on Tuesday, but the calendar year for football coming to an end with a couple of great games.
Well, I will probably be working on Sunday, so whether I have a television or not, I won't be able to watch it, but I will watch it back. I won't be able to watch it live because obviously we will be doing a Monday podcast. We will be reviewing it, so I will watch it. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not asking you for a prediction because I think predictions are impossible when it comes to these kind of games, especially when you take into consideration the week that one of the teams has had. Waterford against UCD tonight at Richmond Park. It's live on LOI TV. I may not have a television, but I'm quite happy to work on it. I'm commentating on that game with Jamie Moore for LOI TV. That could be a mad occasion, couldn't it? And again, we don't need a detailed preview here, Macdara, but it's just like I've never known a week like it for a team going into a game this big. Waterford have just had a crazy week, and I don't know what it is. I like down the years, Waterford have just had these mad situations, and it's happening again, and it's happening. And if they win, it's the best time because the players will say, "Oh, well, we bandied together." If they lose, then they can say, "Well, we were so distracted during the week. What did you expect?"
Yeah, it's a mad situation. I think back actually to 2005 when Shamrock Rovers were barreling towards that playoff and ended up in the relegation playoff, and Roddy Collins was manager, and Rovers sacked him just ahead of that and had to bring Alan O'Neill in. It was a 2-legged playoff, and they ended up the one
against Dublin City.
Yeah, and they ended up getting relegated.
Yeah.
Probably not help because Barry Murphy, who will be on the bench for Pats on Sunday, he was the goalkeeper and he got injured in the first leg. And Rovers had no goalkeeper. They had to sign an out-of-contract player just because it was so late in the season. And it just didn't work out, and they ended up getting relegated. But it's just madness. I saw some quotes from from Brian Murphy, the Waterford goalkeeper, and he just said it's not normal circumstances this week was what he described it. But he said we're paid to play football and we'll regroup. Like, maybe it'll galvanize them, but it just seems madness, and it'll make it very difficult for them. I'm going along to that game myself. I have a ticket in the UCD end, which I think is the main stand, because tickets still available if people are listening to this ahead of the game. Get down to Inchicore, or you can watch on LOITV the excellent commentary Oisín you'll be providing. But
UCD have some, Jamie Moore. Go on anyway. Sorry,
but UCD have some great players. Teams are coveting the likes of Kerrigan and Colin Whelan, and they've Andy Myler's put a really good squad together that have done well during the season. They've carried momentum into the playoff, whereas Waterford, who did really well when Bircham came in, but I think it's 1 point in the last 5. So besides from the managerial merry-go-round, they've no momentum coming into this game, having lost the other matches. And I think momentum is really important, but it's a one-off. I'd say it's a one-off tie.
Yeah.
So I'd say UCD are the favourites just because of, I said, the managerial mayhem, and to say the momentum probably gives them the edge. But it'll be fascinating to see, because it's such a big game. It's all on the line in 90 minutes and possibly extra time. Or are you prepared to commentate on some penalties, Oisín?
I am indeed. Jamie's drawing out the diagrams as we speak. The weird thing about UCD is if they went 1-0 up in the first 1 minute, in the first minute, they wouldn't sit back at all. They'd still attack, and that gives Waterford a chance. And Waterford have 3 or 4 players coming back, and a couple of them from suspension, a couple of them maybe from injury, we don't know. So that will freshen things up. And Patterson going up and down the wing all day, he's a joy to watch. But then on the other side, and you've already mentioned him, Colin Whelan, Kerrigan, Gallagher gets up and down as well. A guy who does get room to cross because he tends to play fullback, so therefore he's a bit of room to cross. So it could be a fascinating game of football to watch. Like, this could be 5-4 or 4-3, given just the craziness of the week and the way the teams play, and the fact that Waterford, they could no matter what happens, they're kind of cobbled together, because even the guys who were coming back from suspension, some of them had knocks as well. So I just don't know what to expect.
Yeah, UCD had a good win, 2-0 win against Bray last Friday night. So they've come through the playoffs, regularly. And then obviously Dave Bell is still part of the backroom team of Waterford, but you've Ian Hendon coming in, who, I'm right in saying he wasn't involved in the club before, so he doesn't know the players. Wasn't. So
came in on Wednesday apparently.
Yeah, anyway, it'll be fascinating to see. Yeah, really looking forward to it. But definitely need the extra layers. It'll be another cold game to watch this evening.
It certainly will. And just the talk about relegation playoffs, and you mentioned it there, that bizarre Shamrock Rovers Dublin City. One of the abiding memories I have from that night was Big Deck going around hugging the players, and of course Big Deck is no longer with us, and kind of every time I think of that match I think of him, and it kind of makes me a bit sad. I never met him, but he was just one of those guys you always saw at matches, and he was kind of part of the League of Ireland family, if that makes sense.
Yeah, League of Ireland character, and
that's it.
Each club has them, and you've characters like Big Deck who transcend just being a Shamrock Rovers fan, and we can pick out different fans from different clubs that are a similar process. So the playoffs. I try not to think too much about that 2005 one as a Shamrock Rovers fan.
Yeah. Well, listen. At least Big Deck got to see some glory days of the club before he sadly left us, and all fans did as well. In fairness, he bounced back in style, if that's any consolation. Yeah,
well, the going down as into the first division for the first time, actually, the fans had taken over the club at that stage, the 400 club. So it meant the expectation. Obviously, there was the expectations to come straight back up, but it gave them a bit of breathing room. But I think Waterford supporters, they just want to stay in the top division.
This is a different situation, isn't it? Like, you worry what would happen with Waterford if they go down. Now, the owner has said on Twitter he's staying around no matter what. But look, football is football, so you just don't know. So I think, like for UCD, they'll keep doing what they do even if they don't win tonight. Whereas Waterford, you're like, oh, I don't know which way this is going if they lose tonight, or even if they win.
And it does seem like even if UCD don't go up, they're going to be able to hang on to Whelan and Kerrigan, who are I think they're in their final year of studies. So
their contracts go beyond the end of this season. I've actually had a look at some of these things during the week, just regards players and who's around and who isn't next year, all part of the study. Okay, Macdara Ferris, absolutely, Macdara Ferris of extratime.com. Thank you very much for joining us on the extratime.com Friday podcast.
Thanks, Oisin.
This is the extratime.com Friday podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by two-time FAI Cup winner, Owen Heary. Owen, how are you?
Not too bad, Oisin. Thanks for having me.
You won with both bows and shells. We'll talk about the upcoming final with you in just a moment, but what are your memories of Cup final day? Was it a day that right from the start, as soon as you woke up, you enjoyed it, or was it a day that you were very nervous, no one could go near you in the lead-in? What was Owen Heary like building up to Cup finals?
You know what? It's a strange build-up to it. It's like the whole week, you know that this is the last game of the season. There's a trophy at stake. It takes a lot out of you. I mean, you're thinking, you know, whether you scored a winner in the Cup final, whether you're one that makes a mistake, you score an OG. There's so many emotions that go through your body all the way leading up to the Cup final that on the day of the Cup final, you're physically and mentally drained, even though you haven't done anything, you know, that week in terms of playing a match. And it's a great atmosphere. It's a great day, a great occasion, only if you win the Cup, in my opinion. That if you're there and you lose the Cup, it's a day that you want to forget. It's not a day that you're going out celebrating after, because there's no game the following week. There's no match. It's your season is done, dusted, and you're looking at the other team. They have the trophy. So thankfully, the two finals I was in, the two FAI finals that I was in, that I was managed to win them, and they were both doubles as well that year. Double with shells, my first double at shells, and then my first double at bows as well. So, you know, great occasions for me because I came out on the right side of it.
Is it about controlling the fear within you in the lead-in?
Yeah, definitely. It's, you know, you look around your teammates and you see what you have in the dressing room, and you know that helps you a lot. Me personally, I used to say, right, take all the negative thoughts, put them in an imaginary box and put them away on the shelf. You know, they're not going to happen today, and try to go out and play the best game you can. Mentally, you need to be right for that game, you know. And you'll often see coming the Cup finals, a lot of players, the last 10, 15 minutes, they're getting cramp. And it's not that they're not able for the game, or it's not because the game is high tempo. It's just because all the nervous energy that they've wasted in the lead up to it or of the day of it, knowing that, you know, there's 20,000 people, 20 plus thousand people watching, televisions are there, a lot of build up to the game, interviews, press interviews, TV interviews, and it just takes a toll on you. So my last Cup final I played in with bows, I remember leading up where we tried to treat it as a normal league game, because Pat, he brought us down to St. Anne's Park and he ran us. It was we done probably more running in that week in training than we did in previous games leading up to league finals. It was all about, you know, making sure that we're physically right and try to keep our heads mentally right for that game.
And it seemed to work because he won that after extra time and penalties.
Yeah, it did. Derry were a tough side. You know, the game could have gone either way. You know, when it goes to penalties, it's a lottery. And in fairness, Brian Murphy was probably one of the best keepers I played with, if not the best keeper I played with. And he managed to pull up a few saves. And even, you know, Mark Rossiter missed a penalty and you think it's not going to go our way. And Brian saves a penalty and up steps Glenn Cronin. And you think, well, a bit nervy here with Glenn taking it, but he puts it in the back of the net. And then Michael Colonis, who's an international, puts the ball top corner, last penalty. And it's a brilliant feeling. But, you know, as I said, the lead up to it, we did try to treat it as a league game, and it did stand to us. But I also think the experience that we had on the pitch helped a lot, because we were league champions as well going into that game.
Did that take pressure off you? And do you think that will take pressure off Pats going into this game, because they have already secured European football for next season, so it's already been a good season for them, whereas Bows, pretty much everything is riding on this game?
Yeah, I don't think it takes the pressure off. I know they might be thinking, oh, we're in Europe, it's great, but at the end of the day, this is a trophy at stake. You know, none of them have won anything this year or the last few years, should I say. but they haven't had to show for the hard work they've put in. This is something that, you know, at the end of it, they're going to lift a trophy. You're going to have a winner's medal around your neck. And that's something to show for the hard work you put in this season. You know, we seen Rovers celebrating last week, lifting the league trophy. They got something out of the season. Now is a chance for Bohs or Pats to come with the second major trophy in our league. And so it doesn't take the pressure off Pats, even though they're in Europe. All right, Bohs have a bit of more maybe pressure on because they want to get into Europe. But the cup is what's at stake. You know, and I'm sure that they're not overly thinking about the European game. It's more about trying to get your hands on that cup and lift it and have a good celebration. Otherwise, as I said, you're going home with a loser's medal around your neck. And, you know, people are trying to talk to you about the cup final. You don't want to listen. You don't, you know, as I said, there's no tomorrow. There's no next week to try and play a second leg. It's just on that day. And you really want to be coming away with that winner's medal around your neck.
Say as we speak, it's a couple of days before the cup final. What were you like before your two finals? Did you want family and friends mentioning it, or did you want to avoid the subject completely? What were you like?
I think early in the week, you don't mind people talking about it and you're saying, yeah, looking forward. As the closer you got to the game, you didn't want to be dealing with anything. You know, people are asking for tickets. You made sure that anyone that wanted tickets would have been dealt with earlier in the week. Coming up to the last few days, it's more focusing on the game. So with the training, whether you're staying in a hotel, you're eating properly, everything had to be done, you know, towards the game. You know, my family were great. As I said, we boxed off the tickets and kids were young at the time, but I was able to get sleep because my wife or my parents-in-law would take the kids off and allow me to relax and focus on the game. So I was well looked after in that sense. So yeah, it's, as I said, there'll be a lot going through the players' minds, really, really a lot, and you know it's physically draining on them. So I'm hoping that there's enough experience in the Bohs team or around the ground of Bohs that they're able to tell them, look, just relax, make sure we focus on the game and go out and get the result that we want.
And what were you like the day of the game? What did you eat? How did you handle nerves? What were the butterflies? Were there butterflies in the stomach? What was that like?
Yeah, the night before, you find it hard to sleep. And then, as I say, you grew up that day, you have your breakfast. We were staying in the hotel, so we'd have our breakfast, our pre-match meal, and then you're travelling down to the game on the bus, and you see going to the stadium, and all of a sudden you see the fans coming from every direction. Like it's a great atmosphere, great build-up for it. You get the match day programme, you're going through it, there's a lot of reading in it, a lot of good stuff in it, like from both teams, you know, and you read their journey, you read their journey, and then it's a matter of, you know, getting yourself ready, prepared. And butterflies, yeah, a lot of nerves before the game. I remember it was a very, very cold day for us, so we had the jackets on, standing there for the anthem at the start. So yeah, it's as you say, it brings back a lot of memories, good memories, obviously, but in terms of butterflies, nerves, you know, all that does come into play before the game, and you're waiting for the game to kick off. You're saying your first touch, your first tackle, that sets a tone on how you play in the game. And yeah, it's you know what, I actually envy the lads playing in the cup final. You know, the more you think of it, you more say, God, you miss those days and you want to play in them. And it's a great occasion. Could be your first, could be your last. You know, could be the first and last cup final for a lot of these lads. Pats have a few experienced lads that have played in them. Bohs don't, but you're hoping that if they do win it, that it's a little bit of success to go and build on for the next few years for them as well.
What's the one piece of advice you'd give the lads playing, especially the first timers?
Well, I think that obviously we keep talking about, you know, how nervous and all the negative thoughts that come through your head in the week building up to it. And like I said, for me personally, I used to take the negative thoughts and I'd put them into an imaginary box and put them away in the shelf and say, don't worry about that. That's not going to happen. And have positive thoughts in your head. You know, yeah, we're going to win the game. We're going to keep a clean sheet. Georgie Kelly's going to score. Bucco's going to be dominating the midfield. So it has to be all positive thoughts rather than any of the negative coming in. You know, they're afraid to make a mistake in the game. Mistakes happen in matches, but you just need to have the positive thinking to say, you know what, it's not going to happen today. Pats are the ones that are going to make the mistake. We're going to go out and take the game to them and win the game.
Yep. And I can't help but notice that you're kind of leaning towards the Bulls side. You are an unashamed Bulls fan ahead of this game, I assume.
Yeah, well, I mean, I followed Bohs growing up, and I managed to play for them and manage them as well. So, yeah, no, I'm hoping Bows are going to be the ones that come away with the trophy on Sunday. But there's a lot of players like in the Bows team that I would know, and I remember Keith Buckley making his debut when I was playing there, and I know Forrester and Stevie O'Donnell are in the Pats, and you'd like to see them do well, but on this occasion I won't be cheering for them. I'll be definitely cheering for Bows to get the result that we all want.
Yeah, and I think we can all appreciate your honesty, and as I always say, everyone who follows the league pretty much follows it through the prism of a team. It's very rare that you get someone who just kind of neutrally follows the League of Ireland. What kind of game do you think it will be, and how big a factor is the Aviva in all of this?
I don't think the Aviva. I know people are saying about Bows. They played in the Aviva in the European games, so it might be a factor for them. I don't see that, because it's European games are totally different than just cup finals. European games, you know what sort of result you need to get through to the next round, or if you're playing at home first, you keep it cagey and hopefully get a result that you can take it to the away leg. Cup final game, it is totally different. So you have players in the Pats team that have played in the Aviva as well and won cups in the Aviva, but again, it doesn't mean a lot. It's on the day. And looking at the two teams are very well evenly matched. They both, I think they both finished with plus 14 goal difference this year. In terms of matches played, Bows have probably played a couple of more games because of the European. They both conceded a lot of goals. Like, I think Pats conceded 44 goals out of 40 games and Bows 51 out of 46 games. So they're very well evenly matched. And I think the two of them are very positive in taking the game to each other. And you look there at the last result, Pats being 2-0 up, Bows come into the game and draw 2-2. So psychologically, that could be more damaging for Pats, knowing that Bows don't give up and they keep going. So I'd like to see it as an open game. I think Bows will win 2-1. I think young Boko in the midfield, will have a good game. I think he'll have to dominate that midfield, because in fairness to the Pats, they have decent midfielders in there as well. So I'd like to see them go. And I think Georgie Kelly coming back for Bows is a major plus. He came on against Sligo on his first touch. He scores a goal, the equaliser. So it's nice to see him back, especially for such a big game.
How big a factor is the Keith Long suspension? He won't be able to be with the team at the Aviva on game day.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, that the league don't let him serve it in a league game rather than the cup final, because it's a big day for Keith as well. And he's been at the club now a long time and he's done great with them. And you'd like to see him there for this big occasion as well. In saying that, he will have an advantage by sitting up higher and watching the game. So he'll get a good view of it where he can pass instructions down to Trevor on the sideline and get his point across. So it mightn't be too bad for him that he, as I said, it's disappointing that he's not there, especially before the kick-off, the build-up to the dressing room. He's not allowed in there. I think it's an hour or so before the match. So he'll obviously have to do all his work in the hotel, go down to the ground and then take his position up in the stand, which, as I said, if he gets a good advantage point, and he's out to relay the message down to the dugout, he could probably see it from a better angle, and with Trevor there on the sideline, is not a bad person to have there either, that he's a bit of experience and, he can see what's developing during the match as well and give the instructions.
Both had defensive issues, maybe in the second half of the season. It cost them getting Europe through the league. Is that something that's a bit of a worry going into the final?
Yeah, I think two teams are defensively, they're not as sound as you would think, as you would want them to be, especially Bows. And I said they do concede goals, but I think that's because they're a very attacking team. They score a lot of goals as well, and they play better than come the second half of the game. So yeah, they have to tighten up. Obviously, look, you keep a clean sheet, and then you have a better chance of winning the game. We all know that, but in keeping that clean sheet, we don't want Bows to be negative. We don't want to sit back because you invite the team on. So it's a cagey affair. You just want the players to step up and play to their best of their ability. And I think Bows have a good back five. I said they haven't kept many clean sheets throughout the year, but on this occasion they might just step up to the plate and win the game, and that's regardless whether you keep a clean sheet in the final. As long as you win the game, that's all that counts.
It's set up to be a bit of a shootout. You're saying 2-1. It could be 4-3 the way these two teams like to attack as well, and given the attacking threats that both of them have.
Yeah, definitely. And as we say, with Georgie coming back, it's brilliant news for Bowes, as I said, because he's the top goal scorer in the league this year. He has scored a lot of goals, and I think be well needed because he is a threat. I think Bort is a big threat for Bowes as well. He's managed to chip in with 9 goals from the wing. So going forward, he is, he's very direct. He takes on people inside and outside, and he could set the goals up for Georgie. So you're looking at Bowes midfield, Devoy, Buckley, and with Tierney ahead of them. Tierney to me gets some great chances in games, and he hasn't always put them away, but he's scored important goals. So I'd like to see that if he does get a chance this week, that he gets a chance in the game, he manages to put it away, and I think he will. I think himself and Georgie will score the goals, and Burt could be man of the match, in my opinion.
These are very exact predictions that you're going for here, and I like it. A lot of pundits kind of give bland cliches and try and talk their way out of giving a prediction. Not you, Owen. You're just going for it.
Well, come here. It's a cup final, and I've seen Bowes a lot this year. I like what I see, and in fairness, I like the young fella Burt. I think he plays very, very well. As I said, Keith Buckley, he gives that extra steal in midfield, and they get on the ball, they can play, he can pass. As I said, young Tierney, I think, gives a lot of energy to the team. He works hard. He makes some great runs, and he finds himself in some great positions in on goal. He doesn't always take the chances, but I'd like to see him if he manages to put the name on away in the cup final. Then I'll be out celebrating that night and enjoying it. But as I said, I think Bowes to me is they're my team. I want them to do well, and I can see them, making the cup final.
Well, and it's good to hear that the family are still giving you a pass for cup final day, even if it's not one you're playing in. Regards, Bowes. Yeah, no. It does. I made a statement earlier on, and it's not something we got into at the time, but we can get into it now. Is it right or wrong to say everything rides on this? That if they win, it's a great season. If they don't win, then it's a bad ending to the season because they won't be back in Europe next year, and they really need to be in Europe.
Yeah, it's a hard one to judge. Like, you look at last year, they get Europe, and it's great for the club, pushing them on a bit. This year, they don't hit the heights in the league as they did last year, but they're in a cup final. So is it a better season? I don't know. If they win the cup and they're in Europe, I would regard it as a better season, even though they haven't finished higher in the league. They have had a lot of injuries throughout the year that probably hasn't helped in terms of when they played certain games. But, as you said, if they lose, then it's obviously not a better season because last year they got in Europe. But I think if they win the cup, to me, it'll be a better season because they have success, and you're judged on success as well. You can get Europe last year, but if you get Europe this year and if you finish fourth and you get Europe by someone else winning the cup, it's not a fantastic season because it's Europe, but it's not massively fantastic because you have nothing to show for it. Whereas I think if Bowes win the cup, players will be happy, fans will be happy, management will be happy, board will be happy, and the fact, as I say, fans will be happy where you see these people lifting the cup and have a medal around their neck, and that's what it's all about come Sunday. It doesn't matter how good, bad you play, once you come away with the right result and have the cup in your hands at the end of the day.
And regards Pats, can you see them going closer to the title next season or potentially winning it? Because the way it's worked in this league over the years is if you come second and get to a cup final, you tend to be battling for that league title the next season. Can you see them being in that kind of bracket next season?
No, not really, to be honest. Really? I think I look at Rovers, and I think Pats are a good team, but you're looking at Rovers and the squad and depth they have. I think Rovers, they've won the league this year at a canter and possibly don't have a striker. I know Aaron Green plays there, but he's more of a winger to me. But they've won it easily enough, same as last year, and there's no one being sort of on their coattails, bringing it to the last 2 games of the season. And you look at the games that when Pats have played Rovers, a chance in Chicago that time, and Rovers pop up goal in the 90-odd minute. And I think that was the difference. Both Rovers have scored a lot of late goals. I'd like to think now, obviously, you're hearing rumours of Derry investing in it, and you've seen a few players that they've signed, so they could be the ones that probably push on and try to challenge Rovers. I'd hate to see Rovers dominate for the next few years without teams putting in good challenges on them. But, they have good structures, and Jack Bourne signing back as another massive addition to their squad. So it's going to be hard. Do we see Pats challenging them? No, but do we see them as a top 3 team? Yes, but just don't see them challenging them. That's to be honest, like.
Yeah, that makes this Sunday even more important, doesn't it? Because as good as they are, there's never a guarantee that you're going to be back in a cup final or that you're going to be in contention for another trophy. So you have to seize the day. You have to take the opportunity when it comes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at Dundalk being in cup final after cup final after cup final, and then you look at the Shells team that I played in. It was 2000 when I was in the cup final, and then we've had better Shells teams after that and never got to a cup final. And then Bowes 2008 is when I got to the next one. That's 8 years in between. So it could be your only cup final you managed to play in, or you could have a run of success of playing in them. So yeah, it's a massive, massive game on Sunday. And as you rightly said, it's for players wise, it could be your only cup final. It could be your only medal that you ever win.
Yeah.
You know, I know players that have gone through their careers without winning medals, and very good players. And then you see players that have possibly won one cup throughout the whole career. So yeah, it makes this game more important. And in terms of players for success, I mean, you know, I keep talking about Keith Buckley, and his best mate is Roberto Lopez, and Lopez left Bowes, went to Rovers, and now he's 2 league titles and a cup medal in his pocket. So I'd like to see Bucko, you know, manage to get the trophy and get a medal, a winner's medal in his pocket as well, to say to Lopez, look, I'm on your coattails, I'm starting to come back now as well. So I'd enjoy seeing them lifting it for that reason. But like I said, it comes down to the day. There'll be a great crowd there, there'll be a great atmosphere there, and being a Dublin derby as well makes it that bit more special. So I'd love to see Bowes come out on top of it. And
finally, in the year 2000, when you beat Bowes after a replay, there was 9,000 in or around at both games. In 2008 at the RDS, there was 10,281, which was a great crowd and a great atmosphere. Of course, you won on penalties that day. This year, it looks like there'll be 35,000 plus at the Aviva. How pleasing is that for you as someone who has talked up the league during your time playing in it, during your time managing it, and now during your time as an observer and a fan of it?
I think it's brilliant. It shows you that there is an appetite for the league out there. I know it's a Dublin derby, and it's going to be I think they're talking about 30,000 a game. You needed a stadium for that, and the Aviva is the stadium for it. I love playing in my cup final in Talca Park because the crowd are on top of you. You know, it's really good atmosphere. It's close to you, and then the replay in Dalymount is the same. RDS, a little bit of a bigger ground, but it's a little bit away. Still a great atmosphere. So now you have 30,000 people in a massive stadium, and I really think it'll be a good atmosphere. You know, because I know Bowes, as I said, I went to the European Games in the Aviva this year, and you could see the atmosphere they brought to it. Although they were being told to sit down many times, but you're not going to keep Bowes fans down. They'll keep cheering their team on and standing up and, you know, willing them to do well. So I can expect the same this Sunday. And I'm sure Pats fans will bring a great atmosphere to the game as well. And I mean, they have some fantastic fans. Both teams have great fans, in my opinion. And I really think it'll add to the occasion. And I hope the match lives up to it, as I said. And I think it will. I think both teams will score goals. And, you know, it'll be an interesting game because there's some very, very talented players on both sides that'll be on the pitch on Sunday. And
it's probably a good thing that it's a relatively new pairing, because over the last number of years it was Cork City Dundalk, Rovers Dundalk, and it's good that it's kind of freshened up a bit. And I think it's going to be a really good game of football. Owen Heary, twice an FAI Cup winner, once with Shells, once with Bowes. Thank you very much for joining us on the extratime.com Friday podcast.
No problem, Roisin. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's it for the extratime.com Friday podcast. My thanks to Owen Heary and Macdara Ferris. Coming up on Monday's podcast, we look back on the extra.ie FAI Cup final, and we look ahead to the Republic of Ireland's World Cup qualifier with Georgia on Tuesday night. It's a must-win game for Vera Pauw's team. We'll also have reaction from tonight's relegation promotion playoff. That's tonight, Friday, if you're listening on Friday, between Waterford and UCD. It has been a bizarre week for Waterford. Will it be a bizarre game or bizarre event? I'm not sure. Remember, you can watch it on LOI TV, and regards to the Cup final, that is on RTE television. Not sure if it's on RTE 1 or RTE 2, but it's on one of them. Anyway, okay, as always, remember you can talk to me on @Oisin Langan, or you can get us on @Extra Time News. We'll talk to you Monday.